What them sons of fishes up to now?
Fellas, I give you the force trolling motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here.
What a dumb bass.
There you go. Hope you enjoyed those ads from the sponsors. We are at our last ABT Live show for 2022. And since I've sort of kicked into the Christmas mode, getting a bit lazy, run all the tournaments, I've got myself a couple of co-hosts tonight. You may know Steve Booth from ABT. The old ABT veterans would know Steve Booth because you were running tournaments from, wow, a couple of years. Like, you were one of the first tournament directors. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I was, 2001, I reckon. I got up here straight into helping ABT do some tournaments, yeah.
And it's been a couple, and since then you've worked for Fishing Monthly, and now you're at Wilson's, and you've taken this path where I don't see you fishing much anymore. What went on there?
Four-letter word starts with W.
Okay.
Be that wife or work, you work it out.
Both. And of course, anyone else that from Bream 1 and 2 onwards will know Timmy Morgan, Tim the Bream. Although about 2006 we called you Tim was a Bream. You're more Tim the Bass. You know, in your heyday, you were a bit of a bass fisherman. Second only to the great Carl Jochimson.
Yes, no, I love fishing the tournaments in the early days, and I fished a lot under Boothie as a tournament director, and that W word does slow your tournament fishing down.
So now you're head of Rapala, you're working in Wilson's. I'm still doing Fishing Monthly and ABT, and who fishes the most out of us?
That guy.
Got my head screwed on right. We love bringing you tournaments. We love bringing you content. We love bringing you insights as to what's coming out in the tackle. So thank you for joining us tonight on ABT Live number 32. We were talking about this before. It was sort of 32 or is it 33? We're not counting our last grand final special show, which we did before Malakuta. Of course, we gave Brad Hodges from Victoria. He is not a journeyman. He is a Victorian specialist. He won himself that $50,000 Alloy Craft Mercury boat package full of all the Garmin gear. And that was awesome. We got all the way down to Melbourne. Now, we have people watching from all over Australia and all over the world, the ABT live shows. We have our standard prize. I've got something here from Daiwa, a little pack of 4 or 5 packs of bait junkies, some scissors and a little tackle wallet. Tell us where you're from, whether you're watching on Facebook, or YouTube, doesn't matter. Put it in there. Nicole, our producer here, will pick out a winner at the end. We'll send you this. Except Mike Sutcliffe in Singapore, I'm not sending it to you because it's cost me $50 to send it. So I'll just give you a pack of bait junkies next time I see you. That is our standard prize for where you're from, but we have some really good stuff happening later tonight, including an auction for Carl and Gussie signed jersey and a whole heap of great ABT sponsor baits. That's going to happen in a little while. So if you wanted a collector's edition Carl and Gussie jersey, hang on, it's coming tonight. We're not giving it away. It's going to be an auction. And the cool thing is, the funds raised from that auction, whether it's $50, $250, are all going to go to MAFSA, which is the Mackay Area Fish Stocking Association. We're going to give it to them to buy some more barra because we love barra in Teamborough Kinship. The more barra in there, more chance we all got of catching them. And if all things go right, there's at least 1, 2 of us on barra tour next year. 3?
I've got the big dogs on tour, but I might squeeze in. You never know. I went last year, not this year.
One might catch COVID-23 or something like that next year.
One might catch a hole in the head too.
There you go. So thank you very much, guys. I know that you're winding down your years at the moment. I've talked them both into sitting here and co-hosting with me tonight. It only cost me 2 pizzas and a loaf of garlic bread. So let's hope that gets you through the next maybe 90 minutes or so. Tonight we're going to introduce all of our series for next year. We've got lots of sponsors which have re-upped, and we have a brand new sponsor. I'm going to start with that, with the Mercury Avator Bass Electric series. A little bit of a revamp for that next year. If you haven't seen, Mercury Avator is Mercury's new brand of small portable electric motors. And I'll put a disclaimer in now. We may or we may not have one for the prize boat at the end of 2023. When I was over in Florida last month, they did have a working prototype model, which is an improvement on the ceramic model they had only a few months ago. They're unsure whether they're going to be in production by then, but regardless if it's this year or next year, we will have Mercury Avator powered boats moving forward in the electric series. And some news from the electric series. We have loved the fact that Adrian Wilson and Westy have run it for the last few years. They took over very capably from Joey Urquhart, who ran the electric series. Next year, the electric series, we're being helped by the Bluefin fishing team running it. So Bo Everly, Bill Latimer, all those guys that represent Bluefin boats have stepped in. They're going to come in. It's always been an angler-powered event, the electric series. And they have got an updated list of 4 events coming out and a grand final with a boat. So from a competitive point of view, not just going to change, but a big thanks to the Bluefin guys for sticking their hand up to run that. But let's talk about our 3 big series. First, let's talk about the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. Timmy, you're the sponsor of that. We had a great year with 6 events in 2022. Next year we have another 6 events planned, and that's business as usual for those guys fishing for a big boat at the end of the year and throwing a lot of your baits. Like the guys loved the Brats this year. They loved throwing the 13 reels, and the Suffolk line, of course, featured pretty heavily.
Yep, no, it was a great series for us. Obviously, we got Matty Langford there, one of our pro guys who
Angler
went really well, and he won on a little Rapala jerkbait, the XR06. But yeah, and we've got a heap of new bass stuff coming out next year as well. Like we released the 13 rods this year, which have been a great release for us. The bait casters have been awesome for us the last 2 years. And watch out for after next year because we're going to have spin reels as well.
Ooh, finally.
Finally. So we actually was lucky enough to go and do a week of the BARRA tour. Caught some great fish on the spin reels. We put them through the ringers here. Mitchie took one up to the Gulf for 2 weeks, and we can't fault him. So
Big Mitchie can't break him.
Big Mitchie can't break him.
What about Mick Horn? He can break him.
He hasn't had him on the Red Dogs yet, I don't think so.
Fair enough. They'll get a good test, and good to see you. You got Mick Horn on staff there. When you talk product testing, you guys are not shy to product test the hell out of things, are you?
No, and we've got some new stuff coming out next year for the Jacks as well, and he has been putting a lot of time on the water, catching heaps of fish, and yeah, we're pumped.
Is Mick another guy who's working in the fishing industry and fishes more than you do?
100%. Yeah, but that's his job.
There you go. That's awesome. So let's run through the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. It starts with our 2-event Victorian tour, same as last year. The whole year kicks off in Blue Rock Dam. So 8th and 9th of February at Blue Rock. That's where Matty Langford, everyone was catching tiny things. He was catching near 50 to the Fulgers to take that event out. We go to Glen Maggie Dam after that, which again was Mitchell Cone won that event this year. And he won it deep, but man, it's, those Victorian lakes, we're only just learning where the fish are in them. And I think every day the guys fish them, they're going to get better and better at finding those fish. And you probably know more about them than these guys do. But there are plenty of bass in there, but a lot of small fish. I don't know if they stunt or are they just the big ones are hard to catch?
No, the big ones the guys haven't worked out. I think if a lot of those Queensland guys and New South Wales guys are really, really good at it, Langford, prime example.
Yep.
Go there and have some time to work it out. You'd find that fishery would be as good as most of the fisheries around.
Which is why we're giving it another shot this year as a double header. And we know that Petrel's deer, you can do 2 events in the one trip. We have another road trip in May, and that is up to Queensland. We go to Boondooma Dam and to Somerset Dam, and they are, coming into winter. Those southeast Queensland lakes fish pretty good. Boondooma's full of water now. So is Somerset, and Somerset fished so good in the Open last year.
Yep, no, it was awesome. And young Mitchie, we talked about before, biggest fish on a DT8. So, looking forward to getting back there for those dams. I think that time of year, it'll be a little bit tough, but I think there'll be some great fish caught.
Well, any time a tournament goes on the lake, it gets a little bit tougher than normal. Look, we've all seen the people who fish either the week before or the week after, how good it is when the boats aren't on the water. So that's a Queensland road trip that the Victorians and New South Wales guys can come up. They can do 2 events for 1 travel spend and get their fish. And of course, Somerset is probably going to have the biggest fish for the year come out. Yep. Like we'll probably see a 3 kilo fish come out of that event.
100%, and they're getting some really big ones up there at the moment. So,
cool. Third road trip for the year is in New South Wales, and that's when the river bass season opens, and that's important because we go to the Hunter River for the first time, based out of Raymond Terrace, and of course up to the now full Lake St Clair. St Clair's been a favourite. We've given Glenbourne a bit of a rest this year because Glenbourne had the lights hammered out of it by every tournament organiser that wants to run a tournament in Australia. So we'll give Glenbourne a rest this year. We know ABT is all about trying to develop new venues, and the Hunter River has got plenty of bass in it. Big shout out to Wayne Robinson, who sent us a photo of a fish that he caught in there. I showed you that, didn't I? Wayne Robinson caught a bass that had a mouth like a largemouth, and it was a cracker. So well done, Wayne. And Wayne is paving the way for some great bags to be expected to be caught down in there. Grand final to be confirmed, but somewhere in southeast Queensland in the end of October, at the right time of the year. And the other thing that you're involved with, of course, Bass Australian Open on
Yep.
Clarence River.
Yep.
Last year was on Somerset.
Yep.
Clarence River, Anzac Day weekend, always a fish fest in that joint at that time of year, it seems.
Yeah, no, it's staging well. I think that a lot of the bass will stay down all year, sort of thing. And I think in the comp just there, Bo Everly again, DT8,
Yeah, he
big
did.
bass.
I watched him catch
the
every one of
Clarence.
those bass.
Yep. So that's a must-have lure for the season next year, I think. But really looking forward to it. I think it's got it all covered. The road trips are great. I think putting two, because petrol is so expensive now. I think it just makes sense for the guys who want to do it. It halves the cost for the year by doing that.
And there's the tip: grab yourself a non-boater, jump in the car, split the fuel costs, and visit some of Australia's greatest bass fisheries. Now let's have a chat to Boothie about the next one, which is the Zerrick Barra Tour, and of course the Venom Rods Barra Australian Open. We've juggled that around a bit this year, Boothie. Tell us I know, but tell these guys why we've moved the Open from spring to sort of late summer.
So
And it's at Lake Awonga again.
it is at Lake Awonga again, which is fantastic. It's been fishing wonderfully well and will continue to do so. And I'll be expecting a lot of metre plus barra out of Awonga next year. What we're trying to do is keep barra fishing and impoundments in everybody's mind for a longer period. Everyone does that spring bite, and then it kind of drops off a little bit. So we want to try and reignite that excitement and do the Australian Open there. So it'll be a good time.
It's a team event, of course, so you can fish with whoever you like. It's a 3-day event. Midweek, I'm pretty sure. We normally have the midweek. Am I getting a thumbs up from Nicole? Barra Open midweek? No, weekend. Okay, that's why I asked. Nicole sets the calendar. So fish with your mate. We had 29 teams fish last year, which meant there was about a $5,000 or $6,000 first prize. We're probably expecting more teams moving forward.
Yep.
It seems that every year it's getting more and more popular. And Awonga looks like it's not going to run over this year, so those barra are going to get bigger and bigger. And of course, now the hatcheries open up there. They say they're going to put 3 to 4 million fish a year into Awonga. So even us three amigos can catch barra in that joint moving forward.
Yeah, pretty much. And part of the move was also that early comp was a bit sketchy with temperatures and water temperatures and fish being in the right spots.
Yep.
The guys tended to work it out on the last day of the comp rather than the first day of the comp.
Yep.
So you never really got to see Awonga at its very best. So it's kind of exciting what's going to happen in February.
No excuses now. If we don't catch him, it's just because we're crap at it.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, Venom Rods, the first one that she sponsored by Venom Rods was won by Troy and Dicko.
Yep.
Troy and Adam.
Troy and Adam.
They won that at Australia, and it was tough. It was one of those cold water bites, so it'll be interesting now to get up there in February. I'm sure the guys from Christmas on will be doing a little bit of pre-fishing up there.
I'm probably not seeing Dicko, and Adam might not be at Tackle Warehouse for a little while.
So they're going to be really good. Now, Barra Tour, the Zerrick Barra Tour, you've been sponsors now. This must be the 4th or 5th year that you guys are very up for the Zerrick Barra Tour. This year, remarkably successful with the inclusion of a little expatriate Aussie and a Canadian. I think helped stimulate a bit of interest. Yep. We had between 35 and 39 teams this year for most of the events. And from the people I've been talking to on the street, they're like, I've got to get on that next year. So we could have a biggest Barra Tour ever next year.
Yeah, it's really exciting having, what was his name? Kyle
Jacobson, I think.
Joel Comptonson.
Joel
Comptonson, yeah. Yep. Yeah, not a real well-known angler sort of in Australian circles, but it was fantastic to see him and Gussie on tour. And they were great ambassadors for the whole tour, as well as Barramundi in general in the impoundment. So, I think when you can get those guys over and they see what Barramundi do to destroy their tackle, good lessons for Gussie. Carl knows all about it, obviously.
Yeah, Gussie was so excited. I remember at the end of the tour, they'd fish for 9 days straight. You and I know at the end of the tour, it is like sleep deprived. Everyone's just wrecked at the end of the tour. And I said, Gussie, you had enough barra fishing now. He was about to go down to Airlie Beach with his wife for a few days. He goes, I want to go back out there right now. And he did too. You only had to listen to Carl and Gussie's podcast with Dave Mercer and some of the Canadian guys they were with. And he is still excited about that. And he has already said, if I can get back there, I want to go back and do it. Carl was leaking a bit of information that there are some other big name guys maybe keen on coming next year. You got any info on that, Timmy?
Yeah, nothing confirmed, but he's got a couple of big name guys that fingers crossed will be able to make the journey over. I think if he can pull it off and a couple of those guys have come, the sky's the limit for the tour next year.
All I'm saying is under the tree at Faust, at Prossie, at Camp Kanga, is going to be a fun experience if we get a couple of them over there. And I tell you what, we all love Gussie so hard. Like, we all know Carl. Gussie was, I judge a person's character by if after they've done the all-nighter, they are up in the cafeteria area helping Nicole set up for party night, because I'm a shit, I'm asleep.
Yep.
And Nicole comes back and he goes, you know who helped me put all the stuff up? Gussie, American Elite Bass Pros, up hanging all the decorations up, and Roderick Wormsley turned up in there and gave her a hand. Is anyone missing Nicole who gave you a hand putting up the decorations? Those guys are up there. Nicole is slightly height challenged, even if standing on the table, so she needs a couple of tall guys to help. And thank you very much for those guys who made that Mexican party night as cool as it is. And I know both of you guys weren't there this year, but there was some good stuff going on. So we had a great time up there. Caterer Thomas did a great job. BARRA Tour, if you haven't been and you want to come, we had some Victorians come up. Guys like Bryce Abbott came up. The guys from down south, I think they were called the lads from the south. Ed Parks and guys like that came up, and they actually did really well in some of the tournaments as well.
Absolutely.
Duffman, he came all the way up. Like there was some guys that put in a big effort to come, and we appreciate that effort that they.
But I don't think they regretted 1 minute of.
They all said they're coming back next year.
Oh yeah, they signed straight up. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if they left their boats up there. So keep an eye out for the Zerrick Barra Tour. It's visiting the same. Oh, the Zerrick Barra series is the section. So from the end of September on Lake Tinaroo, 2 events there as we normally do. That is the land of the giants. All the records got busted again this year there by your boys from Anita Barra. But then it's the Teemborough, Kinchin, Faust tour that everyone loves so hard. We finish it up at Camp Kanga at Peter Faust Dam. World's best social time. Beers under the mango tree, or whatever that tree is. Yeah. It's a big tree. Catered, air-conditioned rooms. Like, you can't ask for anything better. And Faust, even when Faust is fishing ordinary, is fishing good.
Wow, 30 knots is a standard there, so and everyone dealt with it last year and still come back.
Anything that's not that is better. So weather can't be as bad as this year, but it was awesome. So Zerrick Barra Tour next year, keep an eye out for it. If you want to see all the dates for these events, on the front page of the ABT site is the second story down at the moment called Preliminary Dates for 2023. Now, I haven't got Tom Slater live here, of course. We have got a segment from Tom coming up, but the Daiwa Bream Series next year, Daiwa have upped their ante for that. They're running the Daiwa Bream Australian Open 3 days on Sydney Harbour. We talk about that a bit later on. Samaki have re-upped for the Bream Queensland Open, which happens in the middle of winter this time, so we should see some cracking bags from that. And the Daiwa Bream Series, 2 events in WA that are run for us by the guys at WATA, the West Australian Tournament guys, which are designed and engineered to get a few WA guys in the grand final. You'll see all of the wording for that when the rules come out. But otherwise, we start with our Victorian road trip. We go to Gippsland Lakes and Malakuta. We've got a very Sydney-heavy schedule this year. So because Berkeley Super Series have taken a break this year, we have got that Australian Open in Sydney Harbour. We also have a Hawkesbury qualifier and a Lake Macquarie qualifier for all you Sydney guys that can't get enough tournament fishing. So you're all welcome to the ABT, be it boater, non-boater. If you normally fish with your mate in a teams event, just split up for a couple of days. He can go and knock off someone else's spots as a non-boater, and you can go and show some non-boater how you do it. So you're all welcome to come and fish those ABT events. In WA, the Swan River and the Blackwood River down the south is a fantastic river that guys catch heaps of fish in. Of course, we visit Gladstone again, which is an app-only event, live scoreboards. I think Wilson's is the sponsor of that one this year. And we go to the Gold Coast. Now, the only dates that are a little bit wobbly for that, 19th and 20th of August at the Gold Coast. Apparently there's some huge air show, Nicole, it is. Yeah, some big air show there. If we have to move the dates, we might move that one, because no one likes a Gold Coast event where there's no accommodation or they're charging you that much for it, you know, so we don't like that. So we may either move the venue a bit north or move the dates if we have to do that. So that's the only dodgy one on that calendar. So they're the 4 series: the Daiwa Bream Series, Zerrick Barra Series, 30 Fishing Bass Pro Series, Mercury Avator Bass Electric Series. So a lot of words there. Hope you guys haven't got information overload. Other things we're going to talk about tonight, we got later on the show, we've got the guys who won the Duff Rods Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk to those guys. We've got Bill Latimer on soon, who's going to show us. He's putting together an Alloy Craft 498 with a Mercury 115 Pro XS. We're going to have a look at his boat. He picked up from the dealer only this week. We're going to catch up with Tommy Slater from Daiwa about their involvement with the series, but also a few of the new products that they've released. And we're going to talk to these guys. I've got show and tell happening from these guys. So if you hang on to later in the show, Boothie's got stuff there that I'm just surprised Cord's letting you show it, Boothie. You got some stuff which is in serious development at the moment.
He doesn't know.
I'm amazed. I made sure that I asked him 5 times.
Did you get it in writing?
I didn't get it in writing, so I might not have a job tomorrow, Timmy, just letting you know.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there'll be some exciting stuff. And like Timmy said, you know, the after show this year is going to be an absolute hotbed of new stuff for everyone. So, yeah, look forward to showing you guys some of that stuff.
Now, before we go to our first ads for the night and come back with the Bill Latimer boat segment, I want to talk a little bit about the auction that we have on tonight. Nicole, you've got a photo of all the goods there that she's going to put up on screen. It is a ABT 2022 jersey. It's been signed by Carl Jochimson on one chest pocket and Gussie on the other side. Gussie's is in a gold pen. Gussie's got a great signature. Looks like a little fish. Carl Jochimson, I can't read it, but it's got some sort of motto, fear my heart or something like that. Something that's got him through the last 10 years of slavery over in the US. But it is augmented by a whole lot of Xeric baits, from the big dongs to some of the live mullets there I can see. You've got a pack of the bait junkies. Got a Rapala sleeve. I didn't know if it was a sleeve or a to cover your trunk with. I don't know. But that I had to ask Matt Osley. He told me that. Got a couple of Rapala and Daiwa baits there. I reckon the tackle alone's worth a couple of $100 sitting there. At least. But you've got the jersey as well. And the good thing is, any of your bids tonight for this stuff, go straight to MAFSA. I've got MAFSA, the Mackay Area Fish Stocking Association's BSB and account number. If you win, I'm going to send you straight to their account to throw that money in, and we will send you that jersey. Frame it, put it on the wall, wear it to pyjamas, you know. Wear it to the Classic next year and support Carl in it. We don't mind. But put your bids in now. I would like all the bids, not on YouTube. Go to the Facebook feed for this stream and put them there, and we're going to shut that bidding at the end of tonight. So when we finish the show, we will have an amount in there. No reserve on it. Could be $50. You could get a bargain. Could be $500. Don't know. But put your bids in there. Nicole will keep a track on that, and keep an eye on the comments to see what the highest bid is. And we are going to give that to someone. But if you don't want to bid, let us know where you're from. You get that. Let's go to an ad, and we're going to come back with Bill Latimer showing us through his brand new alloy craft. G'day, Steve Morgan here, Australian Bass Tournaments. We've taken this opportunity today, catch up with Bill Latimer, who's one of the Bluefin team's ambassadors. I think you were the #1 ambassador, weren't you? The first one on the books.
Yeah, so as of this year, next year, Kev's going to be the ambassador and I'll be the senior ambassador.
There you go. And you've taken the opportunity to upgrade your Bluefin up into one of the new alloy craft boats. We've given a few of these away in the past. They're a great looking boat. And for your part of the world, they're going to do the job nicely. What are you using the 498 for?
So this will be mainly for the rivers around home, and I'm really looking forward to getting it out into the season next year as well.
Yeah. Take us through the hull and the motor combination and why you've put together the rig you've put through.
So with the 498, it maxes out at the 115, and with the way that the Mercury's set up with the biggest capacity, I wanted as much power as I could get on this boat as possible. So the Pro XS was the way to go. It's the lightest, the quickest.
Yep.
Perfect. Just
and they're a great ABT sponsor. We love that as well.
Excellent.
You've got it set up on one of the little micro jackets, a little Atlas there, and that's going to help you get into some sneaky country, isn't it?
Very much so. So it's a 5-inch Atlas micro jacker. Gave it a bit of a run just before, which was great. The other beautiful thing we've done as well is up at the steering wheel, we've got the TH Marine blinker trim and jack plate switches there too.
Come and show us that. I know we're mobile at the moment, so I know the kids are in the boat enjoying the time in the new boat, but explain how they work.
So essentially all they've done is they've pulled the steering wheel out a little bit so they could get all the gadgets in behind it, but I'm not sure if it's on. Yep, we've got the power. So the right's going to be the tilt and trim.
Yep.
And then the left side there, Taj, you want to push that down for me? And then up is going to be the jack plate.
So there you go, that jack plate lifts that motor vertically so you can get into some real sneaky water. All it does is when you pull the boat up onto the plane, you can start and not, dig the boat into the water. You might be able to get up in 1 foot rather than 2 foot of water. And I've got the same sort of deal on the Bass Cat. Really cool for shallow water fishing.
Especially for the waters we've got around home. We've got Bungalwalbin Creek, it gets very shallow. You can't get in there in a lot of boats, so I should be able to just glide in.
Yep. Tell us, you've got it on a trailer with the Bluefin trailer, fancy wheels. Take us through what it's on.
Yeah, so it's on the trailers from Redco. So it's the Redco Sportsman, it's the brake trailer, perfect little setup, and unlike the last trailer I had, she's a drive on and off, and I can't wait not to have to jack it back up on there.
Take us through it's got a lot of deck space, the 498. You've obviously got a lot of fishing room, but tell us what you're going to put under the deck and what electronics you got to go on it, because she is a blank canvas here at the moment. I notice she's all sort of ready to go.
Very much so. So back here where I'm steering, I'm going to have the Lowrance Elite FS9 sitting there. That will be for my maps and a little bit of downscan and side scan sort of stuff when we're cruising around. Up the front, we're going to have the Ghost. It's got the 47-inch shaft on the Ghost up the front. And I'm also going to have a HDS 12 and a Simrad Evo 3 9-inch up there.
Wow, full kit.
Full kit, and I've got the active target on one of Mick Johnson's poles. So I'll have the foot pedal to muck around with the pole as well, which I'm really looking forward to, the active target.
Lowrance, another great ABT sponsor. You've had much experience with that forward-facing sonar yet, or is it going to be new to you?
For myself personally, it'll be new, brand new. But I've mucked around with a few guys' boats to know what's going on, and I've got a few people that can give me a hand.
Oh, it's going to be a journey for you. Guarantee you're going to waste heaps of time trying to catch every single thing that you see.
I'm sure.
It's amazing seeing how many fish you don't catch. Once you get over the fact that you don't catch everything, it's sort of all right, and it's going to integrate with your fishing. This is all set up to fish ABT events. Got a big live well in it?
It does, yeah. So in the live well's in the back, which is great. You can open that
keeps
up.
Keeps that weight backwards?
Very much so. So yeah, it's a split live well, aerated, fully plumbed, ready to go. So that'll be perfect for the comps and everything we've got. Got the battery storage space down the back here. At the moment, it's just got the crank battery in there, which is an AGM. But I've got 2 FPV lithiums going in, a 24 volt for the Ghost and a 12 volt for the house battery as well.
Cool, and you're going to be doing all the wiring in there, so this is a project for the next few weeks?
Pretty much, so big thanks to Glenn Bailey, who's going to be helping me out with that. I'm sure I will be the apprentice, and he'll be just going drill there and drill there.
Yeah, here's the crimps. What else do you need? Do you need a cup of tea or a beer?
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Awesome, so it's been a few years in the making, you getting into the alloy craft top of the line one, and I'm pretty sure you're excited to get on the water. When do you reckon, I know you've had a water test on it, when do you reckon she's going to be set up for your tournament fishing?
Just after Christmas.
There you go.
Yeah, so just after Christmas will be where I get in and get all those teething processes out of the way, but should have everything on it by next weekend, and then it'll be mucking around just trying to make sure it's all tuned up, ready to go.
Well, there you go. I reckon that when Bill finishes the boat, let's go and catch up with you in northern New South Wales. We'll do a full Fishing Monthly boat test on it, bring you the performance stats and exactly how this Bluefin 498 performs out on the water. Well done, mate. Addition to the family.
Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Seeing the fish, their position, and how they respond in real time. That's game changing.
There you go. That's every year ABT gives away 3 of those alloy craft boats. In the Bass Electric series, it's their P95 punt. And last year it was a 463, which is a boat smaller than Bill's in the Bream and the Bass Pro series. So around 50 grand package is the big one and around 10 grand the little boat. So I calculated the other day, Boothie, I reckon ABT's given away nearly 40 boats now over the years. That's plenty of boats there. And we started giving away. Actually, I think you're the only person who's come second in an ABT event and won a boat.
Yeah, that was a Hins Bass Electric event, yes.
And I heard you caught the winning fish while you were lying down half asleep.
I perfected the hungover ice jig it once and then leave it for 5 minutes approach. Worked really well.
Rather be lucky than skillful.
It was a long time. It was a long time ago.
But it was a little Quintrex at the time, and we've given boats away all the way from big bass cats. We've given away probably half a dozen bass cats over the years. Back in the day when Josh and Andy Homan, we gave away some skeeters. Yep. Steve Duff, in fact, his boat he's fishing in right now is the one he won in 2005 or 2006 at Ballina, which is great to see that he's still using the old prize boat. We've given away some Quintrexes over the years. We've given away bluefins over the years. And now the Yellow Craft by Bluefin is sort of the staple that is a good, the cheaper end of tournament boats. Aluminium boat, you don't need a big motor to get into them. You want to buy a bass boat nowadays, you're looking at 6 figures basically for a brand new one. These ones you get in for half the price, and single axle trailer, don't need a big car to tow it, so it's been pretty popular with all the guys.
Just point towards the boat that the Anita Barra boys use. They haven't got a big bass boat in the Barracots.
Bigger than those ones, yeah. a couple of inches bigger than the old Renegade that those boys fit in, although those guys do have sounders worth more than their boat.
Yeah, probably about $40,000 worth of gear on it. So.
Crazy. If that Renegade ever sinks, I'm diving for it, because it's got some gear in it, just in fish traps alone.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't got Tom Slater in the studio, but we're going to talk to him in a sec. But before that, let's update the auction. Nicole, the bid's up to $300 at the moment. Rob Wood's sitting on that at the moment. Geez, there must be some money in Warren Boats, because Robbie Wood is at $300. He's into all of that kit there. Appreciate that. I've just texted Jeff Newby. I'm sure he's going to get back to me about how much a barra fingerling costs now. There's, I assume, about $1 a fingerling. So that's if that's the winner bid, that's 300 fingerlings that aren't in there at the moment. And it's probably a good time to mention now that back when you were still working, I think, at Fishing Monthly back in 2013, our tally of ABT donations in cash to fish stocking groups was around $150,000 at the time. And I sort of stopped tallying it then, because it doesn't really matter. But sometimes people that don't know the history have a bit of a fucking poke at ABT.
A bit of a what?
A bit of a poke. Anyway.
Did you just say a $500?
$500 poke at ABT. Anyway, they don't know the history. On behalf of all tournament anglers, ABT has donated a lot of money in the past. And this is just another thing that we do for stocking. ABT is all about developing the industry, all about making sure there are fish in the water, and make sure we have a good time catching them. And I think ABT's motto, who shares wins, we're all about that. We like to see those hard-working stocking groups that at the start of ABT, there was no SIPs.
No, they were just chook raffles and money from
chook raffles.
ABT.
That's right. Every single one of the first 5 events we ran, it was a $2,000 stocking donation to the local stocking groups. And guess what? They turned from fairly antagonistic into pretty good mates, those guys, once the $2,000 check started coming. So look, over the years, there's been various opportunities we've had to work with stocking groups to support them with in-kind or cash or however we can do to help them. Love doing it. And that should be some more money going for tonight. So before you shoot an arrow at ABT, make sure you know a bit of the history. Let's, Boothie, you're going to do our next intro. It's Big Tommy Slater from
Daiwa. No, I won't say Wilson's. I won't say Wilson's again. No, Tommy from Daiwa. Tommy's one of the gun bream anglers on the circuit. He's into the whole development stuff with Daiwa now, developing their new ranges of lures and all that sort of gear, and going to have a lot to talk about for the Daiwa Bream series.
Yep, 20 minutes worth, so let's go to Tommy right now. Now, we couldn't get him in studio today because Tommy Slater is in Sydney and all of the other boys seem to be in Brisbane. But welcome to the last 2022 ABT Live, Tommy. And you're going from strength to strength at Daiwa. And I'll let you announce what Daiwa's doing with ABT next year. It's re-upping, aren't we?
Yeah, very excited to be obviously on the show again and announcing that, Daiwa's back for the 2023 Daiwa Bream Series and 2023 Daiwa Australian Open. So very excited to be, re-signing and renewing the partnership and pushing forward into next year.
Let's rewind a little bit. We've just completed the 2022 Daiwa Bream Series Grand Final at Malakuta. Great win by Hodgie, of course, down there. But what I noticed was you had a very strategic release of a small little jerkbait down there called the Sazanami. And I'll tell you, an off-the-record story sort of here is young Tommy Wood is very excitable. He drove the van down to the grand final to us. His hobby every night was getting a stretchy plastic, knocking ginger beer cans off the thing and yelling Sazanami as he was shitting plastics at it, mate. I think the name's really struck a chord with the younger generation.
We were actually considering whether we could call it that name because we were worried no one would really understand what it meant. But it was good. Obviously, I wasn't at the grand final this year. I was supposed to be overseas, but I ended up not going. So I could have ended up fishing, unfortunately. But my boat went there. But it was good to watch on and see a lot of people seem to be throwing the Sazanami and throwing just Daiwa lures in general. It seemed like it was really, really well run event. And yeah, Hodgie obviously did an awesome job winning it. So it was I was a bit bummed to miss it, but watching it from afar was pretty good.
Yeah, and look, I suppose one of the things we noticed was, we sort of did have the weigh-in at the end where it's a bit of tension at the end to whether who was winning. But the other thing I had a lot of people going, don't know what's out on the water, especially when my live stream goes down and I end up fishing somewhere where you can't get the thing. They're like, I want to follow the event and there's no way to do it. So we've actually solved, I suppose, one of those problems for the Open that's coming up. Tell us a little bit about how we've arrived at the hybrid Daiwa Bream Australian Open, which is on the harbour for 3 days this year.
Yeah, so obviously, I've been speaking to you guys about it for many years now, and as anglers, I think a lot of us prefer the fact that we can bring fish to a live weigh-in and weigh them in and know exactly what they weigh. But as you say, for the people watching on from home, the live scoreboard throughout the day is a really cool feature. So what we wanted to do is kind of work that hybrid style event, and obviously we're all used to watching Carl on Bassmaster Live and on Bass Track. So what we've done for the Open next year is we're going to have a Bream track essentially. So it'll be estimated weights entered into the app through the ABT tournament app. You'll be able to put your 5 fish in there, estimate what you've got. There'll be a live scoreboard obviously showing an unofficial leaderboard. But then at the end of the day, as the guys come in, we'll drop our fish on the scales and confirm those weights. And then we'll figure out if Chris Hickson can actually guess how much his fish weigh. Well,
I'll tell you what, you mightn't have been watching the live weigh-in on day 2 of the Bream Grand Final, but Chris Hickson he had an ordinary first day, but a good second day, and he brought us about a 3.8 kilo bag of fish. And you know what he called it when he gave it to me? I got about 2.8. No, 3.8 kilos. And I put it on. He was like 30 grams off the actual weight. And he fell over. I fell over. It was like, man, this guy has improved. Day 3 gives me exactly the same bag of fish and calls it about, just over 3 kilos. So his estimation is all over the place. And I think it's just luck if it ends up on the right spot. So, look, I think that's going to be behind the scenes. There's a little bit more work in getting that organised, but I agree. I think it's going to be a good combination of course, all the ABT guys around Australia love watching those live scoreboards at the Open, but then to have that the weigh-in at the end is going to be interesting. Interesting also next year for the Daiwa Bream Series calendar. We've had Berkeley Super Series taken a year off this year. Going to be interesting to see if we get maybe some increased fields. We're coming to the harbour for 3 days for the Open. We've got the Hawkesbury River qualifier there and also a Lake Macquarie event. So for us, it's a quite Sydney heavy calendar next year. And I assume our numbers are going to be reasonably good.
Yeah, that obviously the Open and the Hawkesbury event being that double header, hopefully we get a fair few people travelling for them as well.
Yep.
Obviously the Open has been the last few years Sydney, Hawkesbury, Sydney. We're doing 3 days in Sydney now. So I think that also, throws the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of managing the fish.
Yeah.
So, we haven't had a 3-day harbour tournament or 4 plus pre-fish for many, many years. So
since it was the Franklin Australian Open, it used to all be 3 days in the harbour. And yes, you're correct. People used to have trouble. You could never fish the same way 3 days in a row and get away with it. But ever since Graham Franklin brought that in because he wanted a bit of variety from the harbour, and then it was just sort of a vestige after Franco gave up. And it's like, you know what, let's do the best of both worlds. And I think we're going to get some Victorians coming, actually. I know Mario, Vukic and Jesse Roten and some of the guys from down south really appreciate that opportunity to travel once and fish twice, especially with $2 a litre. So
yeah, well, I know Mario absolutely loves the Hawkesbury. I think he said it's his favourite venue that he's been to. The last time I spoke to him, and I'd agree, it's probably my favourite place to fish fish a tournament, especially. I think the options you've got in those two arenas, the Harbour and Hawkesbury, is unmatched.
Yeah, pretty endless. And for anyone watching that's thinking, oh, should I go and give it a go? Let me give an open invitation to any of the travellers coming in. Come and stay with us at that Sydney Lakeside Caravan Park. Plenty of parking there. They probably hit you up a bit to put your boat in the powered campsites, but 3 or 4 you can get together, buy a campsite. It's boat friendly. It's 10 minutes from Bayview Park where we run the Hawkesbury event, and it's about maybe 35 minutes from a Sydney boat ramp. So you can stay in the one place all week. All of us out-of-towners have a great time there. All you Sydney locals stay at home and do the washing up or whatever you do when you're at home. But all of us travellers really enjoy that venue because there's not many boat-friendly places in Sydney, are there, really?
No, that Lakeside Caravan Park at Narrabeen is an awesome little spot. I only live 10 minutes from there myself, and I always used to stay there when I lived in Brisbane and come down for a tournament. And
yep.
Yeah, it's definitely the pick of if you want to spend some time in Sydney, that's the place to do it.
Let's talk a little bit about some more of your new product. Firstly, I want to talk about the skeleton reels, the skeleton seat in-feet rods.
Yep.
You were good enough to give me a set of in-feets to use for the Daiwa Bream series. It probably was 2 seasons ago now, and I have managed to replace every single favourite rod I used to have with the in-feets now. I think you've, from my point of view, you've hit the nail on the head because I'm not wanting for anything outside the range. But if anyone didn't know, I don't think I posted this on social media. I left all my rods home when I packed to come to the Bream Grand Final. We packed everything else awesomely, but I didn't bring the fishing rods. I had all my reels. I rang you up and said, dude, you're not going to the grand final. Can I borrow your rods? And you said,
of course.
Now, in there were 3 rods that you released at the after show, but aren't on the shelves yet, but they're about to come out. The skeleton reel seat in-feets. Yep. I loved using them. Give us the story behind them.
Yeah, so there's the in-feet SK range, which we announced or released it after, but you're right, they aren't in stores yet. They're going to be in stores in January. Just didn't have enough time at the end of this year to get them out to stores, but you had 3 of the models, I think, with you.
Yep.
That's one of them there. So there's 4 in the range, 2 fast tapers and 2 slow tapers, and obviously SK meaning skeleton, so Fuji SK reel seat. And then the cool thing is they've got the one Fuji titanium stripper guide, and then every other guide on it is our AGS Generation 2. So super lightweight carbon fiber guides, and I think the rods feel amazing in the hand.
Now, I was surprised because I assumed this was going to be your dearest range of in-feet yet, but it wasn't. Where do they sit in the range?
So they're second from the top. So they slot in between the Z series and the EX range. So yeah, the blank-wise, they're about equivalent to what a Z blank is. So HVF Nano Plus with the full shield graphite up to about halfway. But from a components point of view, they've got obviously the better components on them, so they kind of sit halfway.
Yeah. Please tell me that all the ones I had did not have a hook keeper right at the bottom of the butt. Are these ones all S. Morgan approved?
Yep. So hook keeper above the reel seat. So yeah, there's obviously some people love and hate hook keeper positions. I think it's impossible to please everyone, but yeah, these ones are above the reel seat, opposite to the guide, so on top of the rod. So yep. That seems to be the consensus of most favoured position for most people.
I think when most people put it into a rod locker, if you have it at the butt, the lure sort of gets caught in the plastic there. That's what I found anyway. But yeah, I know if you put it above the reel seat, the line can sometimes get caught on it. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Mate, I found that I was picking up those SK rods more often than not and cutting lures off the other rods to put it on them. So for me, that's the not knowing about what components they were made of or what graphite was in it. I just had a handful of rods. I ended up gravitating towards them. So from my point of view, I think they get a tick because they were a pleasure to use. Tell me which one I was throwing the bent minnow on the whole time, because it was a 7'3", and
yep.
It's very rare. I like fishing a bent minnow on a rod longer than 7 foot. So why is that my favourite bent minnow rod now?
Yeah, so you normally tend to the 6'8" Z, I think, yep. for your top
yep.
waters. So shorter rod. So you're like me because I like tip down, pretty short rod, with a little bit of give. But the rod you were using was the 7'3" ultralight fast taper. So it's one of the red coloured ones.
Yep.
But that taper is a really nice, it's not too, because it's an ultralight, it's not too stiff. So bent minnows, you obviously catch a lot of fish on the outside of the mouth. You don't want anything too stiff. But the extra length, I think, helps you make those long casts. And where you were fishing at Cooter, you obviously wanted to make, you're only fishing in this much water, so you wanted to have your lure as far away from the boat as possible. So
that's right. I think Tucker asked if he could use them. I told him no.
he took him out on the
guy to use them, mate. Come on. I did enjoy fishing with Tucker for that last day of the grand final. He finally got a bag. We had a good day chasing sight fish up the river, and I think he's a real asset to your team. Tucker, he's the man behind the SAS, isn't he? He's the guy that put it together. Yep. Tell us a little bit more. I want to dig down a little bit more about the SAS. I've seen some of your social media videos about why it works so well and why it's erratic. Give us the story.
Yeah, so it's got essentially the same system inside it as what's made the double clutch, I guess, so popular. So that fixed wire in the center of the body, that tungsten weight that slides, and then the two rubber cushions on each side of the weight. So that we have that system. It's called the gravity oscillation system. So meaning the center of gravity in the lure is always moving, but in the double clutch and in the SAS, it's the silent gravity. So that's referring to those two rubber washers. Personally, I don't love, unless you're fishing dirty water with like a crankbait, I don't really like a lot of rattles in bream lures, especially like a tungsten-y, very high-pitched rattle. I prefer like a glass kind of rattle in my bream crankbaits. So hence why we put those rubber cushions on to kind of dull the sound down a bit. But the key to that system is obviously that the weight is never fixed in one position. So as you're working the lure and you're twitching it and the lure's darting all over the place, that weight is sliding on that bar, and it's always, every time the lure moves, the weight might be in a different position, which is going to give you a different action, which is why it's so erratic, and that's one of the reasons why double clutch is so popular.
I think that's what the technology does, is it makes guys that are ordinary at twitching a lure like me as good as a Cam Whittam at twitching a lure, and all of his skills he's acquired over the years have just become obsolete.
I'm not sure if that's quite true, but I'd back Cam to outfish a lot of people with a hard body, but it certainly helps when you've got a lure that's more, I guess,
more receptive,
sensitive to a better retrieve. So it certainly seems to have caught on. I know the guys in WA, I was talking to a few stores over in WA, they've absolutely gone gangbusters over there in those shallow southern estuaries in WA. That's kind of been the hot lure of the moment. So I know we're sold out. I know a lot of stores are sold out. So obviously it's a popular lure at the moment, and more stock's on the way. So everyone will be able to stock up before the Vicky Tour next year.
We are looking forward to that. And if you haven't seen the ABT calendars, they're up on their site at the moment, abt.org.au. There will be a tournament somewhere near you this year, whether you're in WA, Victoria, all except those Tassie guys. The Tassie guys, we don't go there again until next year. If you made the ferry cheaper, we'd be there this year, though. Let's finish off with talking about the Bait Junkie. You've got some jig heads, again, ones that you released at AFTA, but they're pretty close to hitting stores now. Give us the 101 on Bait Junkie jig heads.
Yeah, so super excited. Obviously, something we've been working on for many years. I think I said at AFTA, I didn't kind of appreciate how much work would go into making a range of jig heads. But yes, very close to hitting stores now. So that's what you're looking for in January. They'll be in stores from hopefully about the middle of January onwards. Two different types. Blue pack in the sticker up here, up there, indicates the light wire hook. So that's the BKK 0 extra strong. And then where you see the black sticker, that's your heavy wire or 2 extra strong hook. So they'll be hitting stores in January, probably very close to when the SK in-feet rods hit the shelves and Sazanami's come back into stock. So we'll have this huge influx of all the stuff that everyone will be able to stock up on just before the first ABT round.
Tell us, I'm always a fan of those SAS hooks. Hold those 2 packets up again. I thought I read on the front that it said there was some. They were the SAS. They're the ones that have got like a Teflon coating on them. Take me through that, because I love those things.
Yeah, so SAS, obviously Daiwa's Teflon coating technology. So not very often you see that finish in a production jig head on the market. So that's honestly one of the reasons it took us so long to make these properly. but yeah, you're right. So that Success coating, that super slick coating, we all use it on our treble hooks now, and it's pretty much on all the Daiwa baits that come stock out of the packet. But that gives that hook such a slippery, slick coating that honestly you can get away with fishing a heavy wire hook where you would probably normally fish a light wire hook and have the same penetration, power. And then likewise, when you do go to a light wire hook, if a fish even looks at the jig head funny, you're hooking it. So just makes setting the hook on fish that much better. And one of the other things we noticed when we were testing them and fishing, Success hooks against black nickel and tin and all the other coatings that you can get, what we noticed is by going to Success, it actually prevented the tips rolling over a lot more, because we felt like it just penetrated easier rather than kind of hitting a hard spot and kind of not having the sharpness there to penetrate immediately.
I think it's all about the leverage, isn't it? The more hook you can get into the flesh, the less chance it's got of just bending the very fine part over the tip.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, super excited to have Success technology in a jig head now. As I said, we're using it everywhere else. We might as well use it in the jig heads as well. So it'll be a good feature and something that I think people will really appreciate once they've used them.
I think I can vouch for how sharp they are, and I'm going to roll some cutaway here. In the grand final at Bream, not this year but last year, I got myself 3 times with Success hooks in the hand on the live stream, which did make Byron Hill squeal like a girl. I said, well, it's not even in your hand, it's in my hand. All the time he was undoing Bream by a kayaker style, putting him between his legs and holding him. Okay, how come you didn't hook yourself in the underside region? And I hooked myself 3 times in the hand. But they go in real smooth. They also come out nice and smooth too, and give them a good tug. So that's why that cutaway is there. It's only blood, Byron. Stop squealing. I don't know what's going to happen when war starts. I think he's not in the Air Force anymore, is he? If he saw blood, gone. Tom, thanks for the time this afternoon. I know you're busy and you're about to take off on Chrissy holidays. So thanks for, firstly, your involvement with ABT. It's been a burgeoning relationship over the years. I'm pretty sure that you guys would be satisfied how many of the ABT anglers are using your stuff, be them Current Master for BARRA or Bait Junkie for Bream, or even just little double clutches for Bream. I think you've got it nailed, your product stuff there, and we're looking forward to all of these innovations next year. It's going to be a good year, 2023.
Yeah, there's plenty more good stuff where that came from. So yeah, appreciate the kind words, and we look forward to obviously making a few more products to suit some of the stuff that the ABT guys are doing. And I know you're privy to a couple of things we've got coming next year, which are going to be right up the alley of not just Bream, but bass and BARRA and stuff as well. So plenty more in the oven cooking for next year. And yeah, looking forward to showing all the ABT guys, maybe do a few sneak peeks on live shows next year and give the guys a look at what's coming next year.
I think, and one final note, this is a shout out for your tackle box, your green Shrek tackle box. Well, I don't know what it's called. All I know is that I did a post with it. I put it on social media. It reached nearly 120,000 people, jig head sitting in a tackle box. I'm not even a soft plastic fisherman. You must have done something right, because people love a well-organised jig head box.
Yeah, I was surprised you own that many jig heads, to be fair.
That was all of them.
But no, the D box, LSU, so large, shallow, universal is what that stands for. Certainly has hit the mark. It was something. I'm a mad keen tackle organizer. I'm actually doing it at the moment. I'm going through all my boat and taking everything out and reorganizing everything.
Yep.
That certainly struck a chord with a lot of people. That seems to be a super popular item.
Yeah, well done on that one. And we'll hopefully we'll see you at the Vicky Tour next year, mate. And
certainly will.
Have a good Christmas. Thanks for joining us on live.
You too. Merry Christmas.
Maui Jim sunglasses were born on the beaches of Hawaii, designed to respond to the bright sun and harsh glare of the islands, all while enhancing the view. After 30 years, we're still independently owned, and the free-thinking Hawaiian spirit that first inspired us is still a part of everything we do. Our Polarized Plus 2 lenses not only protect eyes from harmful rays, they also make colors more vivid and contrast crisper. Try on a pair and see for yourself. The view's better from here. And we are back, and things are getting pretty exciting in the bidding for the Carl and Gussie jersey.
Nicole thought we had a bid of $4,000 earlier on, but that was just someone with their postcode for where they were entering the comp to win a couple of bags of bait junkies. So lucky we identify that as a postcode. But apparently Robbie Wood's got the leading bid at $450 at the moment. But I think unanimously you think it's Tommy Wood's got Rob's phone. Yeah. So Barra Barbie, give Dad his phone back because he's not going to be happy when you got $450 on the credit card for a Carl jersey. All right. But that's still open till the end of the show. Remember, all of that money going straight into barra fingerlings or whatever MAFSA want to spend their money on. If they want to spend on their cool little hatchery and multiply their SIPS money with it, good by us. All that donations for us come with no conditions. Whatever you want to spend it on is great. But we are back to look at some cool secret stuff now. We sort of kept this to the end of the show. And my strategy here is get a couple of the guys that are close to the R&D for their companies to show you enough secret stuff which is coming so that they get in trouble, but I don't. So that is the caveat for this segment. Steve Booth, you have rated Dicko and Cord's secret samples box there.
I have, yes.
And you have got some cool stuff for us. Take us through the R&D process that turns into making these lures that the guys use very effectively. They won timber on some of these baits this year. Take us through some of the secret stuff.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the stuff that Dicko and Adam used at Timber to win. And everyone knows the flat shad. Fat Betty and GS1. So that's a 7-inch version, and what we've got is a third party, someone close to all of us. We've all worked with the guy. We all love the guy. Likes chicken.
Yeah.
Apparently 14 pieces of it. Yep. But he's made us some jig heads with a couple of different hook versions that the guys have been trying out. So there's that black one, and there's also the silver one there. So they both come with a rigged treble stinger down the bottom there, ready to go. And it's actually, if you
look at that one, yep, keep it
look somewhat closely, you can see it's an internal jig head. So
made just for this size.
Made just for that flat shad. So the problem with TPE material is actually getting the jig heads to stick in there, as everybody knows.
Yep.
So these are moulded. They'll still need to be glued, of course, because TPE needs to be glued onto jig heads, as most of the guys would be aware. But they come in a whole bunch of different sizes, so they can fish different depths. So say they're fishing up at Timber or in the weed edge, they might be fishing this lightweight one there, which is about a ½ ounce, just to keep it at about 3 feet. They might go a bit deeper at, say, Tinaroo, fish that one, which is just over an ounce. So there's a few things coming. These will be finalised. The boys, obviously, they work.
They won the tournament on it.
Yeah, they won the tournament on it.
That's all right.
So they're looking at the After Trade Show again. Just a new release, a way of presenting these. How they're coming, I don't know.
Do you buy the jig heads themselves, or they come in the lure?
All that's to be discussed. At the moment, the boys have just been working hard for the last 12 months to try and get the actual jig head right for barramundi fishing. So
you can ask the new marketing manager after, because he'll be sacked. So.
he'll be able to give you the whole story.
That's awesome, man. And that's literally the colour, the jig head, the everything that the boys used up there on Timber at that time too.
Absolutely.
So, you can't feel this, but these flat sheds, they're great. They fold over so easily. Some plastics do it with the fact that it's a real sort of soft, stretchy plastic. This is a much tougher plastic. But it does fold away and gives fish access to that hook very easily.
Yeah, and strangely enough, most of them are actually caught on the stinger most of the time.
Yeah.
Be that if you have the stinger on the top or on the bottom. So. That treble hook is hugely important for anyone who's going barra fishing, I think, regardless of which brand lure you're using, but obviously flat shad will do it better.
Cool.
The other thing is another one that Troy was using as a real pro development lure, and this one here is a 160 flat shad that's had a T-tail put on the back of it.
It's been Frankensteined.
It has been Frankensteined. It's also had the belly cut out with the whole different weight arrangement put in there and a different toe point. So I think the boys used that up at Faust a bit and got a few fish and really loved it, to the point where I heard that Dicko was yelling at Adam to net the tail that had fallen off on the prototype rather than net the fish that was inside the boat.
Because you'd always catch another fish. Now, I've heard a rumour through the industry that the glue you use to stick these plastics together comes from the sex industry. It's dildo glue.
Yeah, I'll put that over here. Sweet.
There's a smaller one for you, Tim.
But this is the lengths that they go to. I don't know who the human tester was for that.
So, basically, we were on the lookout for a strong and tough glue. Just for the prototyping, obviously that'll be moulded as one unit when it comes out.
That works in a moist environment.
That works in a moist
Did you
environment.
already have the glue and just accidentally found out that this worked?
Well, I'm not confirming nor denying that. But the person who did come up with the, and it is actually called dildo glue.
Is that literally
It's
called?
literally called that, and it's used to repair sex dolls and
Dildos.
toys. And it works wonderfully well on TPE. So
Yep.
the beauty of it, we've now found out from the guy who's helping us do all this, that you can put paint colours into it, so that you can spray paint these lures and they look fantastic.
Yep.
Just an aside, but yeah, so it is, as you say, it's from the sex industry, and
Does that mean that there are no depths that Wilsons won't go to get the stuff made?
I'm not getting into that one. So anyway,
Industry talk.
That was good. Well done.
yeah. So yeah, Timmy's a small one, and that's like the man-sized one.
Yep.
So
It's not how big it is.
So
it's a wizard with the wand, isn't it? It's just like fishing. It's not the lure; it's the wizard on the end of the wand.
let's talk about the process then. The guys, playing around all this year and then finally take prototypes to the BARRA Tour. How long is it before you see something like this in the stores?
So this one, to get to the stage where they were catching fish, it was probably 18 months of playing around. It started with the germ of an idea where you just get the original fish trap, put a different tail on instead of the curl tail, and just fish it normally. And then you change around all these dynamics, like the hook point's different, the weight's different, the weight here is different, and also the toe point is in a different position. So on the original one, toe point's about here. This one's pushed forward right here. So it changes the way the lure works. So that's probably 18 months to get that to what they think will catch a fish. Then they go out and play with it. They use it on the BARRA Tour. We don't get as much time to go barra fishing as we'd all like.
Yep.
So BARRA Tour is used as a bit of a test bed for Cord and Dicko to go up there and really nut some stuff out. That one probably have prototype stuff at after. So that's another 6 months, 8 months down the track. And then, it's all to do with the factory and that sort of stuff from there. We would hope, once after happens, it's 3 months. So it gets there before the BARRA Tour starts.
Like post-COVID, anything can happen.
Yeah, these days it's hard to say. So you're probably looking at a 2-year process from, someone having an idea to refining it to testing it. And Timmy would probably back this up. If you're actually doing it, and Tommy from Daiwa, it's a long process. It's a lot longer than everybody thinks. It's still, I've been at Wilson's for 8 years, and it still amazes me how long it takes to get this stuff done.
No, well, with that head start for us, I reckon we'll have one at after. So. No, just joke. 100%. It's about 2 years from way to go.
Yep.
To working with the vendors, with the PD guys over there as well. It's not just simple, especially if you're starting something from scratch and not going and copying it. But if you've got to put, like, that's why we've got Mick Horn on the team. We've got him to go out, test it. We've got to make sure we're 100% happy with it before we put it out to the public.
And I think that's the thing with most of the Australian companies, be that, Ask You guys, Daiwa, whoever it might be, we do have guys who go out and fish it, and we do have guys who really put it through the ringer. Be that rods, reels, lures, it doesn't matter, line, leader, it's all done, and we're pretty confident that it's going to be okay by the time it comes to production.
Well, if we're not confident with it, I don't want to sell. So you've got to make sure that the product you're selling to the general consumer will do the job for them. Otherwise, they won't come back and buy more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that old adage of it needs to be made as a simple fishing lure where somebody can chuck it out, wind it in, and a fish will eat it. As soon as you go to that level where you have to do all of the action of the lure, it gets that next level of angler.
And the sales are...
And it really narrows it down. Yep. So, we always talk about, is this lure for, the keen guy? Is it for the average guy? Is it for the beginner? And, we try and categorise those lures for that sort of market.
Well, you look at the big sellers over the years, like go back 20 years, the old, like SX40 back in the day.
Yep.
Throw it out, wind it in, stuff jumps on. The old TN60 in the day was a throw it out, wind it in. The old Bassman spinnerbaits, all of the category favourites have been very little angling.
Oh, look at the fish trap. You've got to jig it, you've got to hop it. Bloody no, they catch a lot of fish.
That's only because...
No, they're very good.
I've got nothing to say. But, it's exactly the same. It's the same with our little tango shed for flathead. You chuck it out the back, put your boating gear in your troll. If you stick in 1.5 meters, you'll catch a flathead at some stage. So it's a simple lure to use. Is I suppose all of the tackle manufacturers are looking for that simple lure to use.
That's the zone. High sails, easy to use. That you
that
meat
works.
And
And
potatoes
like Tim said, that you're confident with.
Yeah. Cool. Any other tricks in there that need to get you fired or what?
Yeah, there's a few things here. You're going to have to be really, really good on your pause game at the moment. So here's a whole bunch of hard bodies. Get on your pause game. So basically, it's just some Jack Barra type estuary stuff and freshwater stuff. People are familiar with that sort of shad shape, I suppose.
So when they're prototyping lures like that, are they literally made from scratch? Are they made with like liquid plastics or 3D? Do they cut it?
Yeah, what they've done, they're 3D printed. That one there is actually a 3D printed version with a bit of paint on it. Then you go up to
like the big garfish style jerk baits.
Yeah, we got some garfish style ones, but that one there is a hand made one. So that's once the 3D version's done and it's all okay, then they make one by hand.
Okay, so they'll make okay.
So they make that, and then from there it goes to a pre-production model, which is the final one that we get to play with.
You better find the mistakes in this one, boys, because they're going to production after that.
So yeah, just another one.
And you can tell that's a different sort of plastic than the original ones.
So if you look at those two, if you can see the plastic, one's sort of opaque and one's much clearer. So they are different plastics, and that's 3 or 4 different versions of it. One shape and action that it works. Then you start getting these to see if the production version will work, and then you get those to see if the pre-production version works. So so there's a lot of stuff. Again, this is all aimed at after.
Yep.
Shown a lot of stuff that I'll probably get sacked for, but
sometimes you got to go through 3 and 4 versions of each of those to get to what you want.
Yeah, so, well, that is a 2-year project like everything else.
Yep.
And that one might actually be the 4th or 5th version that Cord and Dicko have had and taken out.
And how many of them end up in the bin? Heaps.
So I've got a pile of stuff sitting down here, which is plenty of those were no-goes.
Yep.
So they either don't catch fish well enough, they don't do what they wanted it to do, or we've got to production stage and the sample comes back different from the one that we approved. So you've got to go and find where that error was and go fix it before you go to full production. So it's
you sign
really
off on that
complex.
proof, it's your problem, isn't it?
As soon as we say go, that becomes our issue. So it's you've got to make sure everything's perfect. It's not as easy and as simple as everyone would think it is to make a new lure, let alone sort of a whole new range of lures. So
I reckon I did awesome that whole section not mentioning Berkeley. I know you're all mentioning it, but I'm not. This is the process that the guys go through. That's awesome, Boothie. I really appreciate that insight. And this year, I'm not letting any cats out of the bag. We've got some good plans for BARRA Tour this year. If BARRA Tour goes off as we expect it to, I'm looking forward to showing you guys a whole lot more of what goes on maybe behind the scenes and out on the water, and incorporate a lot of this new tackle technique stuff. ABT is all about not just saying check out these guys catching the fish. We want to give you the information about how the guys catch them, and so you can go out and repeat that yourself, because we might only be doing BARRA Tour a couple of weeks a year. The other 50 weeks a year is when you can go out and do what these guys do.
I think that's the best way to go about stuff is, teach a man to fish. He'll be poor for the rest of his life. If you give him a fish, he feeds for one day. So
that's right. That is a variation on it, isn't it? We're going to jump to a quick break now. Nicole, what's the bidding up to for the Carl and Gussie jersey? Has Tommy Wood still got that on Robbie Wood's phone? Good work, Tommy. Just I'd bid against yourself, mate. That means more barra in the water. Let's go to a quick break. We're going to come back and have Rapala's take on new and exciting stuff that'll probably get you sacked.
Let us make this absolutely clear. The days of wasted casts and missed opportunities are over. New Mega Imaging takes fishing into the megahertz range for the first time, because higher frequency sonar means higher frequency of this. Without a doubt, it's the most detailed picture of the world below ever. And it's only from Humminbird.
I'm actually going to surprise Nicole now, and I am going to go to our segment on the Duff Rods Rookie of the Year, mainly because these guys haven't settled down enough after their last segment. They've got to collect their thoughts. So
He said dildo.
Tim's lost it. So let's go to have a chat to our two Duff Rods Rookies of the Year. We awarded them at their respective grand finals, but let's talk to the men themselves. Every year at ABT, we have an award called the Rookie of the Year. It's sponsored by Steve Duff from Duff Rods. He started in the Bream tournaments, actually, supporting the best new non-boater that's come in for the year and competed and ended up highest on the AOY table. This year, Duffman has expanded it to Bass as well. So I've got with us on ABT Live tonight the Bream Rookie of the Year, which is Hayden Fitzgibbon here. And we've got the Bass Rookie of the Year, which is Adam Mears. Welcome to the show, guys. And for both of you, I think it was an award you didn't expect that you're going to win.
No, definitely not for me, Morgo. I really enjoy me fishing and sort of dabbled in doing magazine writing and things like that over the years. And I'd always sort of wondered what giving a tournament a go would be like. And I've loved it from the word go. So, yeah, really honoured to sort of step into my first year and take out the rookie. And you did it in style too, Adam. Your AOY, you had 370 out of 400 points. It put you in third place for Angler of the Year. And that was a first place at the Clarence, a second at Cania, a sixth at Glenbourne, and then a 25th at St. Clair. So you were sort of one good finish away from actually winning Angler of the Year as a rookie. So I suppose there's no reason why you wouldn't enjoy your first season with results like that. No, and I got to fish with a lot of really good anglers, people I'd sort of looked up to for a lot of years, people I'd seen around the tournament and thought, it'd be really cool to get in and have a fish with them. And, signing up as a non-boater, I got the opportunity to learn all those things, hone my skills and, just really enjoy it. Some of those venues I'd never fished before as well. It was really good to get onto the Clarence and experience the great fishing that it has. And then also stepping up to Cania as well. I'd never fished for bass, especially north of the border. And that didn't disappoint either. So, yeah, really enjoyed my time. Awesome. Hayden, you come to the ABT events. You fished 3 ABT events. You fished Malakuta, where you did, I think you got a top 10 in your very first event. And then you did the 2 rounds down in Tassie with your old man in that real flash. I think it's a Quintrex, that matte black Quinny with the Suzuki on the back. Mate, how did you enjoy your first year of ABT bream fishing?
No, it was actually really good. Different, like fished in states I've never fished in before, but like the species of fish I've never fished before. Malakuta was the first time targeting a black brim, which was good, and I did all right, which was actually surprisingly. No, you did real good, mate. Top 10 there, and the fish were biting pretty good as well. So tell us where you're from and what you normally fish for. From like a rural town, Goulburn, just above Canberra there. And we go to the coast a fair bit and catch sort of every species. Lots of, like, I do a lot of walking and that around Goulburn for just redfin and trout and that. But we grew up down in, like, Narooma was pretty much our second home. So, and Flathead and Bream and everything. Yep. Well, it sounds like you had a real good basis for being good at ABT events, because being good with light spin tackle and light lure fishing, and I assume that's what you're chasing down at Narooma and when you're sneaking off after school, whatever you used to do to catch the trouts and the reddies around home, mate. What's it like in the way back from a tournament when you've given the old man a touch up? Oh yeah, it's something different. I don't know. Give it to him, mate. You give it to him, because your old man caught his first limit at the grand final at Malakuta. He brought it up to me to the scales. He had a really nice limit of 5 bream, and I said, "Well done. You put in the hard yards," and he came with the limit. He must have been proud of getting his 5 fish there. Yeah, I think he did actually. He was telling me all about that. Yeah. Nah, he did real well. Mearsy, you dabbled also in BARRA this year, and you jumped straight into the BARRA events and had instant success up there. For the guys that haven't been to a BARRA event before, just give us a 30-second description of what BARRA tournaments are like. Oh, look, I really enjoyed it. Went up there with a mate of mine who pretty much told me what to pack. I had really good support from Ian Miller, who sent me up a bunch of rods. I didn't have the tackle to fish for BARRA, and he really hooked me up along with the boys at Shimano. But
fishing with Barra is pretty much as much fun as you can have with your pants on. So if you haven't done it, get up there and enjoy the tour. All the boys are really helpful, full of tips, encouragement. Couldn't hope for a better tournament up there. So those Tinaroo rounds, yeah, probably the highlight of my year.
Tell us about, you're catching sort of average metre 5 Barra. How big was the lure you were using?
I think most of them come on the 95 mil Xeric fish trap.
Little tiny lure, basically, for
tiny
a fish
little lures. Even the dull tick in the line, you think, I think that was a bite, set the hook, and then have that line scream off the reel. You just think, yeah, it's nothing much better than that.
Now, Hayden, your old man was pretty surprised when we announced at the grand final briefing at Malakuta at the golf club there that you'd won the Rookie of the Year prize, and he came up and accepted it for you. What was the chance that he mightn't have handed all those 3 rods over? You got 3 rods, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 3. He did end up using them in the grand final. He put his reels on a few of them, actually.
Nice.
And he loved them. They actually look like really good rods too.
Yeah, he makes a good rod. And Steve Duff, he won the grand final for Bream back in about 2005, 2006. So he's been through the whole system. He's done the AFC. So he knows the sort of tackle that you guys need. And that quiver of rods, it should help you on your in your tournaments next year. Are you planning to do some more tournaments with the old man next year?
Hopefully. Just see how I go with work and school and all that. But
awesome. What are you training to be at the moment?
Diesel mechanic, like heavy diesel mechanic.
Awesome. Well, you'll have plenty of good high-paid work down the track, mate, and that'll be able to fund your own tournament boat and your own tournament campaigns when you go on them. Mearsy, you took 3 rods from the bass. How have you found? Have you strapped a reel on them and caught a fish on them yet?
Yeah. Look, had a bit of a play around with them weekend gone, just up there at Chaffey Dam near the local. And really got stuck into the yellowbelly fishing some vibes and stuff. And beautiful to the touch. Yeah, they load up really nice. And Steve makes a really quality rod. So if anyone's chasing them out there, definitely look him up because they're worth every cent.
Now, the last thing I want from both of you guys is I want one piece of advice to anyone who might be watching this show and sitting on the fence. What would your advice be if there was some umming and ahhing about coming as a non-boater in an ABT event? Mearsy, start off and tell us what your best bit of advice would be to an up-and-coming non-boater.
Oh, look, get in and give it a crack. I put it off for far too long. I always thought, maybe I wasn't good enough or, maybe I just, that I'd enjoy social fishing more. And I always sort of wondered, what if? Got in and gave it a crack. And, I never met a bloke that I didn't sort of learn something from. They're very, very helpful and, just hook in because the guys will teach you a lot and it'll improve your fishing from whether you want to do tournaments full time, whether you want to step in and just be a better social fisherman. There's not a better platform to learn it from. So get in there and give it a red hot crack.
Awesome. Hayden, your experience, you did the 3 events in the Bream series there. What's your advice to someone who's looking to maybe come and fish as a non-boater in the Bream tournaments? You catch plenty of fish in a day, don't you?
Yeah. I couldn't agree with Adam more, honestly. Just get in and give it a go. You'll learn absolutely heaps. I've learned so much from my boaters, and it's just good to meet new people and you could fish new places and you get around to places that you might not fish as just socially fishing it by yourself or it's just without the comps.
That's awesome, mate. I think that's great advice from both of you guys. I think nearly everyone who's on the tour at the moment started off as a non-boater and learned their things. I've seen some big names in fishing nowadays started as an ABT non-boater. So, guys, thank you very much for making the time to join us this afternoon. Hayden, especially you got that cell booster sorted out so we could talk to you. And I really hope that you do yourselves proud as the Bream and the Bass Rookies of the Year from Duff Rods from next year. So thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, Morgo. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you.
I think the boys are settled down enough now after Boothy's little talk, and they just mentioned the word dildo glue, and they were all over it. Where do you come from tournament? Jeff Alford, we have taken your postcode not as a bid, so you are winner of the little Daiwa pack there tonight. Jeff Alford from Surf Beach, New South Wales. We know Jeff really well. We reckon Jeff's awesome. He's got himself a new to him Ranger. We saw at the Bream Grand Final only a few weeks ago. So well done, Jeff. Thank you for watching ABT Live. As we say in the office about Jeff is awesome. Because Jeff comes from a surveillance background. You never know when Jeff's listening to you, so we always say Jeff is awesome. Good on you, Jeff. Let's talk about some Rapala stuff. Timmy Morgan saw Boothie's show and tell, and he went off into his office to find out stuff that he didn't have to sack himself if he was talking about.
Oh, there's plenty of stuff I'd have to sack myself for, but I didn't bring it out. So
fair call. Take us through like Rapala. You have the same R&D process. You've got Mick out the back. You've got Dicko and Cord. And you don't get to go fishing, and you've got Mick and Mitch, and
Mick and Matt and Mitch,
and Matt as well.
Yeah, so look, we all love fishing. We probably wish we fished as much as Mick, but no, we've got a good group of guys there that like a lot of different styles of fishing. So it's good to have that, I think, as a base for us as a company. And then we've got our R&D department in Finland. We report directly to Freddie, Freddie Gore in Taiwan.
Thready Freddie
and Dewey Yui that night in the Brizzy River. Yep. So look, it is a painstaking process sometimes. And look, Australia, we're not the biggest market in the world. We're pretty small in the grand scheme of things for Rapala. So when we ask for something, we want to be confident it sells, and we want to sell a lot of them. Otherwise, they won't do more projects for us.
So have you had product that you've developed in Australia that's been then sold to the global market?
100%. So it's really good. So like one of the things, I can't take credit for it, but the Rapala long cast lures that have undergone evolution, like they're more beach casting tailor, tuna, reef flats, things like that, was an Australian developed project, single hooks. It's probably one of our biggest selling lures that we have. We've improved them with colours, smaller sizes, heavier ones, things like that. But we really do a lot of the saltwater development for the world, and then the US take them on. So it's great when you're involved in some of the later projects after that you see are successful in Australia, then they're sold worldwide.
Because normally to get your lure sold worldwide, you have to make it be successful, and then some guy in China just has to rip it off.
That's right. Oh, there's plenty of them there too. So no, it's all good. But look, I caught my first fish ever on a Rapala lure. My first fish on a lure, flatted in the North Arm of the Brunswick River at New Brighton there. And I caught my first jack on a Rapala, my first barra on a Rapala. So I love the company, and it's awesome now to be able to sit there and have input into the new lures that they're developing.
It's funny how the industry works too, because the guy that employed you at Rapala now works with you at Wilson's. It's Mustard. You're wearing the logo there.
Looking after him.
This is how small the industry is.
Yeah, it is.
It's why no one burns any bridges in the tackle industry. Now, what have you got, Timmy, for show and tell for us?
Well, one of the ones, we did actually land a few in the last couple of weeks that went out to some shops, but only probably a tenth of what we had back orders for. But you saw this up at the BARRA Tour. It's a SXRD11. So our saltwater X-Wraps, I've been at Rapala 10 years now. We've had them for basically 10 years. This is a new deeper version. So it actually suspends in fresh water, slow rise in saltwater, comes barra ready with the hooks out of the box there. Yep. You shot a video with Matt up there. I think you got busted off first cast with one doing your forward sonar stuff, and then you got 2 and 2 casts. So they're a great lure. They'll be in stores in January actually. So that'll be one to look out for.
That's right. And for the forward facing sonar stuff, for me, this is like the next level of strength up. I love those little the Samaki, the 80 mil ones. This is like stronger hooks, bigger lure. Like this is what Carl was using, wasn't it?
Yeah, fully wide through construction. I think Carl's already released a video with this one, so we've kept yours for when we actually have stock, because we don't want everyone to go out and where are they? They're not there. So that's an important thing too. So like this has been a couple of years in development. We've had the samples for a little while, but now the production ones, a few are out there, but the big order will be in January.
That's it. So ready to tie in, and again, no modification required. Tie it on with your 50-pound leader, and it works good.
And like all the colours are Aussie special. So some of these we've had in some of our smaller jack deep brim lures, bass lures, little fat jacks and stuff like that, but never in the SXR range. So
this is the one. This is the barred grunner. That's the one I like eating, isn't it?
The barred grunner, and I think you got busted off on the scaled roach, which is the Roach Live, which is the real bony brim looking one. So. And that's the one Carl got it on. So So that's good. But I think one thing Rapala does well, and we're keeping with tradition, is balsa lures and timber lures. So I think it's one thing that sets us apart from most other lure manufacturers, except the cottage industry here in Australia, is we can still mass produce timber lures. So a lot of the original shad wraps, countdowns, things like that, have been relaunched in an elite series now. So we still do the original ones that haven't changed for 40 years, some of them, and we're doing this is a shad wrap elite. If you follow Mick Horn, jump on and follow me. He's our pro staff content creator, product development guy, but he's been getting a heap of big jacks on these shad wrap elites. So yeah, timber lure, a little bit different acoustics to plastic ones underwater, and sometimes when those fish are shut down, if you put a timber lure on, that's what gets you the big bites. And it's been proved in the last couple of bass comps with those DT8s, where Mitchie got big bass at Somerset on it. Bo got the big bass down the Clarence.
Bo got lots of big bass on the Clarence on that one.
On the DT8s. So sometimes in heavily pressured fisheries, something a little bit different. So a timber lure will get the bites when those plastic rattling ones won't.
Now, I remember back when we were used to fish Hinchinbrook like 30 years ago now, the shad wraps and the fat wraps were our favourite balsa lures.
And the countdowns.
And the countdowns, but all of them, you catch barra and jacks on them, they get torn up a little bit. Have you made any advances in when that gets monstered by a 60 centimetre jack? Does it tear it apart?
Well, it's still balsa, so you're still going to get a few teeth marks in it. But what happened with those original ones was there was just a little bit of wire in there. You'd rip it apart, it'd open up at the back. This has now got a full CNC plate through it, so from front to back hooks, and that bib goes almost the whole way through the body. So after we actually had, and we're going to use it in some advertising soon, one of these lures cut in half so you can actually see how strong they are. So if you hook that fish of a lifetime, you're going to land it. Because I remember with a lot of those shad wraps, sometimes you get 10 fish out of them, other times you get, like with a big mangrove jack up at Hinchinbrook in the 90s, you might get one fish out of it.
That's right, but they were all those ones that you hung on the wall, weren't they? They're the ones that, check the lure out, it's all, especially when you get one estuary cod on each treble. They would just both turn around and they would put that lure through the ringer.
They're in my office now.
That's right. I gave you a couple of souvenirs the other day. I admit the old fat wrap in brown and orange colour, looked like a mangrove crab colour, was the absolute gun lure that the Brisbane sport fishing guys put us onto back then, and they cast like a golf ball, those things. I remember them.
And that's it. First jack on a lure, North Arm of the Brunswick River again. Bit of a theme here. Spent a lot of time there growing up, but on a fat wrap as well. Yep. So on another one which been ever popular for us is the BX Brats, pretty much a staple in any guys who are cranking the edges, the square bib on them, bounce over timber and everything really well. But we've got a couple of new colours, so the Carbon, a dark one, and also Rock Shad, which is purple back.
Have you always had that big one? I've never seen the big one before.
Always had the big one. The cod guys actually like it for smaller river cod and stuff like that. So super buoyant, really, no rattles or anything, just really natural, subtle. You can actually...
Yeah, Boothie was
cod. You mentioned cod.
Look, they've been great for us, but what I'm most excited about, there's a project we've been working on a long time, which I think you know about, but we're keeping it quiet, which will be released at AFTA. It's been really good for us. We're sponsoring, I think, one of the Bream rounds after AFTA with it, so it's going to be cracking for Bream, bass and barra, so watch this space.
Yeah, and I won't say anything about the product, but I really love the fact that you're out there creating sort of new techniques that use the product. Like that for me, it's like, you're not just saying, oh, those guys have got that bit of market segment, I want my bit of that. There's also, I've got a new way to catch fish, and it's using this product, and I'm going to sell you the product and teach you how to do it at the same time.
That's right, and I actually did it yesterday for the first time after Mick developed it, so I'm not going to take any, but it's once I caught a couple of fish doing it, it was addictive. It was sight fishing sort of stuff, but it was addictive. So really looking forward to actually going out and filming it, and keep your eyes tuned at AFTA next year, because we're going to have some pretty cool stuff.
There you go. Big gunners, mate. I think the gloves are off now. Development, it's all happening. What it means at the end of the day is that you guys are going to have new, exciting and interesting tackle to go and catch fish on, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the fact that you're not just making the lures, you're giving the knowledge. And I reckon a big shout out to Wilson's for if you haven't seen it, their live scoping video on cod is some of the best produced, most interesting video I've ever seen. It's the first video I reckon I've just watched twice. I watched it once and I came into the office and I watched it a second time, just learning from it, not pushing product down your throat, just good, informative, interesting video.
How to.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I think the stuff the industry needs, the more stuff that these guys can produce and that we can produce that help you catch more fish. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And look, big 2023 coming up. This is our last live show for the year. I just remembered I didn't get our Santa hats for the last episode, but, Christmas spirit.
I got the Santa belly.
Well, and Boothie, when you don't shave, you got the Santa beard.
I've got the real white beard these days.
That's right. So, look, guys, thanks very much for coming in. I think the guys watching, it's a bit of a different show tonight. You get a bit of an insight into what happens behind the scenes at some of these companies. They only tell the ABT guys this stuff. They don't go telling everyone in the industry because we know that you guys appreciate that level of R&D and the level of work that goes in, I suppose, to making the product. But also the fact that these guys think it's important enough to kick ABT some money, to give the guys the forums to test these lures against other lures. The BARRA Tour is important. The Bass and the Bream Tours are important in the tackle industry in Australia. And we all like to think that that's we're all a little part of that. You guys are a part of that, that fish of the events. And the guys that give feedback, whether it's direct to the guys, via social media, via Boothie comes in on Monday morning and sees a video of a big barra they caught on an Anita-coloured fish trap. It's all a circle. What's the Happy Gilmore quote? It's not go home ball.
It's the circle of life.
The circle of life. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because...
well, I just want to say something. Just as with ABT, I've done it from an angler in the early days for probably a decade fishing Bream bass. Only did a BARRA tournament this year. And now, as I watched it for a few years, but now as a sponsor for it, I'd like to thank ABT because... To be honest, back in the early days when we did the first Bream comps, it was throw some hard bodies and that was it. And then I remember, I think I stole a crappy kit you bought from the States with some little white single tails in it. And every tackle shop I went to, you couldn't buy any jig heads for it. Like I won a Gold Coast Bream event down there and we had some really shitty little... bronze hooks that I had to keep bending back because Bream ones. Yeah, that Bream were opening up. Yeah.
They were literally crappy hooks.
Yeah, they were crappy hooks. So I'd just like to say thank you because I think it was always going to happen, but I think ABT has just brought tournament fishing techniques for catching not only Bream, bass, barra, but snapper, mangrove jacket, everything, and leaps and bounds for a long time. And I think we all benefit from this who shares wins philosophy, so that's why Rapala's involved in it, and we will be for a long time because I think it's helping grow the industry. It's driving us to make new and better products for the guys to use, and I think the who shares win thing is the best. It is a thing, and listening to Carl and Gussie talk to Dave Mercer over there, that was a big part of it. So thanks ABT, and thanks to all the guys fishing them.
And from your point of view, it gets Dicko and Cord out of the office.
It lets me actually do my job.
Well, that's awesome. Appreciate that feedback. And winning bid for the kit, is it still Tommy Wood on Rob's phone? Yep. Sorry, Rob. Tommy's racking up more bills on your credit card. I'm going to send the winning bidder, and we're going to call it sold. $450. That was it?
Thank God Riley Morgan didn't win it.
Yeah, I think Riley was bidding against himself for a while there. But we'll get that kit out to them, and MAFSA will appreciate that $450 in funds. All of the new dates from next year, etc., on our website www.abt.org.au. Bit of a spoiler alert: we've got a new website coming in the new year where you won't have to turn your phone sideways to look at scoreboards, entry lists, any of those important things. We have made it old person friendly, and I think we've all got a bit of white in there now, so we all can fit in that category. We've invested a lot in the website, so moving forward 2023, Nicole's done a great job behind the scenes here, but also selling the sponsorship. We had a 100% retention rate of sponsors, plus a few new ones for next year. So next year, going to be
bigger and better.
Absolute cracker. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Ho, ho, ho.